Hey y'all, it's July the 15th, 2017. It's a beautiful Saturday morning. Alright, can't wait to get out there, get out and about in the beautiful weather. Alright, but before I did that, I want to talk to y'all real quick about some stuff, alright? Just firstly, I want to mention the fact is, a lot of people gonna view these videos one day for whatever reason, stumble across them. A lot of people are gonna see these videos, and what they're gonna perceive is a crazy person, dude, like just outside of his mind and stuff, all wackadoodle, going every which way and stuff. They're gonna see a very crazy person. Alright, you have to understand that I completely acknowledge that, and I understand that that is what's gonna happen. I mean, long after I'm dead and gone, probably, if these videos are still floating around, there's still going to be people who look at some of these videos and say, oh my gosh, it's a crazy person. Alright? You know, he completely lost it. Alright? I understand that. And yeah, and still making the videos. However, with that in mind, you know, I feel like it's very crucial that I go ahead and explain. There's a method behind the madness, you know what I'm saying? A reoccurring theme on this channel obviously is a divide that's taking place. It's a divide on a global scale, alright? A good word to call it would be called the tribulations. Actually, I didn't invent that. That's something that was written about in a book, alright? Long time ago. Meanwhile, tribulation's been happening to different cultures and societies. Like, it's not as though it hasn't happened. These divides take place. At the end of the divides, you know, tend to have a society collapsing and becoming extinct and stuff like that. It's called the tribulation. But the thing is, the tribulation, this divide, this great big divide is taking place all over the earth. It's swept the whole globe. Right? It's reached to every corner almost. I mean, there might be some untouched pygmy somewhere who have no idea what the heck's going on, but guess what? The rest of the world is experiencing a divide taking place, alright? And this great big divide, alright, is built up of all sort of small divides, but they're all connected. They're all interconnected, these divides, right? These little tiny divides, well, they're going to come together and create a huge global divide in which people are absolutely separated from other people. Alright? So, it's important. In fact, like I said, it might be crucial to absolutely go over the details of each of these divides, because here's the thing, a lot of people feel like people are becoming divided these days. Alright, a lot of people believe that. Thing is, and the problem is, when they do not correctly recognize just what exactly is taking place. Like, I'll give you an example. I'll give you a couple examples. Alright, a lot of people might look at what's taking place today in our current events. They might think that, you know, Muslims are becoming very divided from America, from the Western world, if you will. Alright? They're seeing a great big divide take place. Actually, that isn't the case. Alright? If I need to remind you, I will. The United States of America in particular, we're very populated with Muslims. Alright? Maybe not in certain areas. But however, statistically speaking, if you're talking numbers, we have the biggest Muslim population, one of, in the world. Alright? We're right up there. So, thing is, Muslims absolutely aren't being divided from America. Not at all. Alright? That's simply an illusion. That's a lie that you might be seduced into believing. Alright, but that's not actually the case. In fact, what we're witnessing, more accurately, is people who believe in the idea of liberty being divided from people who don't believe in the idea of liberty. Right? That is the divide that's taking place. You just happen to notice that there's a lot of Muslim folks out there who don't believe in liberty. Right? There's a lot of so-called Christians out there who don't believe in liberty. There's a lot of atheists, and the list goes on and on. Jews, any kind of thing. Any kind of thing. They don't. There's people out there who don't believe in liberty. Inevitably, even if these are good people, they're going to believe in safety rather than liberty. Right? However, there's people on the other side, and they believe in liberty over everything. Over safety and everything else. Right? Liberty. That's where the divide is taking place. Like I said, here's an example. I mean, Muslims, a lot of people are pointing out their differences from Western culture. For example, is like one example would be that they're not so tolerant. They do believe that homosexuality is a sin and stuff like that. And they do believe, ultimately, in their books it writes that, you know what I'm saying, death would be the penalty for homosexuality. Meanwhile, there's all sort of pedophilia going on in those upper tiers of Muslim, dictatorship and stuff, and even on the low levels, you're going to find all sort of pedophilia, and so that's disgusting, right? But we're going to cover that in a second, right? In the Quran and other such writings, it does say that, the penalty for homosexuality would be death. Do you understand? The thing is, that's something for maybe homosexuals to definitely keep their eye upon. They really don't want Sharia law and all sort of stuff like that, but you see, this all becomes a very fuzzy situation, a very cloudy and foggy situation. And you understand that Christians who believe the words of the Bible, those Christians also believe, like for example, the Bible says the wage of homosexuality and stuff like that, the wages of sin, and homosexuality is a sin, is death. Alright, so you gotta understand that it sounds very similar. And what I had to express to you is that it's very similar. It's the same idea in both these religions, if you will. Alright? However, what you always have to understand, what's very crucial to understand, is Jesus said, hey, vengeance is mine, I decide. I decide who gets what. As far as judgment, as far as discipline, as far as punishment, that belongs to me. And Jesus was very clear about that. He said, not you. He said, vengeance is mine, all right? You need to leave that to me, all right? And see, that's where the vacuum is filled with liberty. Jesus done that. He said, listen, vengeance is mine. If I say a sin is worth death, and you know what I'm saying, I'm the one who says what's sin and what's not sin. So you'll then leave vengeance to me. Alright. The punishment will be decided by me. Alright. And that is what's liberty. Alright. People, especially Christians who follow Jesus, and then Jesus says, vengeance is mine, I shall dole out the punishment. They say, okay, we'll leave it to you. We'll leave it in your hands. And therefore, what that creates is liberty, because these Christians have no need to go out and administer all sort of judgment on, for example, homosexuals. It doesn't matter to us necessarily. It's not affecting us. That's what's liberty. So when it doesn't affect you, go ahead and let people do it. Right? But at the same time, you do have to remember, in a practical sense, pedophilia is never acceptable, and the simple reason is because children, first of all, they're being molded. You understand that people's brains aren't fully even developed until like the early to mid 20s. Alright, so their brains aren't fully molded, and they're also way, way smaller than everybody. Alright? They're helpless. Alright, so when it comes to pedophilia, know that it's not. See, that's a danger to our society, you have to understand. So it makes a lot of sense to go ahead and punish the shit out of that. It makes a lot of sense because these children are helpless. Alright? If you and your buddies and stuff want to go to the Vatican and have all sort of homosexual orgies with cocaine and all the rest of it. I don't care. That's liberty. That's what liberty is. Don't care. Do it. Do it all day. Do it until you tear your butthole in half. I really don't care. It's like, dude, I hope there's a filter on this video. Alright. But the thing is, I don't care. Are you going to include children? Guess what? Now Jesus endorses our punishment on you. Is what I'm trying to tell you. Alright. Other than that, liberty is it's very important to note that that's where the divide takes place. It has nothing to do with religions. Alright. You should be able to practice whatever religion you feel like. Thing is, like we've mentioned, a lot of our religions are filled with silly things, stupid, nonsensical things. Some people, even their religions are filled with cutting their babies' heads open with knives, with kitchen knives, right? So it's like, it is a slippery slope. Religions are a slippery slope, but it's not about religions. It's actually all about liberty. Some people don't believe in it. Some people don't believe in it. And so I do want to bring up the Catholic Church as well, because we're going to go ahead and we're going to name a different pedophile probably every single day from here on out. Just name them. Just make a list of their names. That's what we're going to do. Alright? And it'll probably be pretty easy because it's a lot of them. And a lot of them are very incriminating. They're incriminating their own selves. On Facebook and Twitter and all that, they can't even help it. They can't even help but do it. They're making it very obvious. They're making it real easy to be able to write down, okay, this one's a pedophile, this one's a pedophile, these are all pedophiles. We're going to have a list of their names, right? And, you know what I'm saying? We're never going to forget. Here's the thing. Catholic Church, you might see that as there's a line being drawn there, there's a divide being drawn there between the Catholic Church and everybody else, because everybody else is looking at them. Everybody who does not believe and practice in pedophilia, those people are looking at the Catholic Church and they're thinking to themselves, they're thinking, you know, these Catholic priests, seems as though they're pedophiles and stuff, and not only that, they love to maintain some sort of religious like authority over people and tell people and stuff about Jesus. And you know what? That turns people off to Jesus. Let me tell you something. Catholic Church has nothing to do with Jesus. In fact, it seems as though, generally speaking, the Catholic Church is distancing themselves more from Jesus as every day goes by. But sometimes they'll bring him up and stuff when it agrees with their agenda, and they will have to twist his words to do it and stuff, but like hardly they don't even bring him up no more. Alright, so that's the thing about the Catholic Church as a whole, but you gotta always understand that there are some Catholic priests out there, and there's some reverends and things like that, I guess, involved with the Catholic Church who are not bad. They are not pedophiles. They did not know about all this. The internet is a new thing to them. They didn't know about this. They were installed as people, as front people, so that the pedophiles behind the scenes could get their agenda done, all behind the scenes. Meanwhile, you have just perfectly good pastors and priests and stuff like that, and they're not part of this pedophile thing, dude. They're not included on this. They're not told about this. And everybody goes behind their back to do this sort of stuff. You got to understand that those particular preachers and pastors and whatnot, they're being excommunicated as we speak, dude. Absolutely. We've seen examples of it happening already. We're going to see more and more examples, right? And oddly enough, it's going to be centered around Donald Trump. Like, you're going to find out. And see, this is how they're going to make it very easy. The thing is, it's going to be centered around Donald Trump for some reason. So if there's a Catholic priest or whatever who does not hate Donald Trump and is vocal about just not hating the guy, you might disagree with some of the things he does. If there's a Catholic parishioner out there who does not hate Donald Trump, guess what? He's in the process of getting excommunicated right now. Alright, think about that for a second. Like that Reverend Pizzo, who we mentioned, he did not absolutely hate Donald Trump. Guess what? He needs to look for a different church. All right, I bet you he's already been he's been kicked out of his church for over 20 years. But the thing is, I wonder if he's found a different church. I wonder if it's Catholic. Anyways, the divide is taking place right now in the Catholic Church. First of all, there's a civil war going on. We're not going to get into it. Both sides are pedophiles. Promise you that. All right. Completely devoid of that, you have some people who have no idea what's going on in the Catholic Church, and they're actually innocent. They're being excommunicated right now. It's becoming more and more obvious who is and who isn't the pedophiles up in the Catholic Church. All right, so it's very important to recognize that. And so we go on to our last topic of divide today that we're going to talk about. It's one we already touched upon: the Donald Trump divide. It is extremely necessary to remember that there is a divide taking place absolutely in America, for sure. It is a civil war. We've been in it for how long, couldn't tell you. It hasn't become a hot war, alright, but it's dipping its toes into the hot war stuff right now. Alright? And one of the best, most accurate ways, one of the most obvious ways to denote this here divide here is Donald Trump. All right, there's a divide that's taking place, and it's important that you recognize that. It's very important. All right, and the reason it's so important is because a lot of people misconstrue it. A lot of people think the divide is taking place between people who love Donald Trump and people who hate Donald Trump. People who approve of Donald Trump and people who disapprove of Donald Trump. That's where the divide is taking place. No, actually, that's not the case. No, it isn't. The divide is taking place between people who are people and those who hate Donald Trump. That's where the divide is. It doesn't matter if you like Donald Trump, don't like Donald Trump, are indifferent to Donald Trump. You just don't even care at all about Donald Trump. None of that matters. You're on one side. You're on the side with people who love Donald Trump and like Donald Trump and just think he's an alright guy. You're on that side. Meanwhile, there's another side of people who absolutely hate Donald Trump, and it does not matter if America fall, may the heavens fall, so long as they take down Donald Trump. They hate his guts. They wake up hating his guts. They eat breakfast, and their breakfast is nothing but Donald Trump and his guts, and they hate him. Alright, so that is where the divide is taking place, and that's a pretty crucial divide. Like I said, it's going to leak over into the Catholic Church divide, obviously. Donald Trump is basically exposing all sort of Catholic priests right now, whether they know it or not, for their pedophile ways. And we're going to find them out, and it's going to be like shooting fish in a barrel, you guys, because they're all on Twitter now. They're all on Facebook, these Catholic priests, and they're incriminating themselves. This Donald Trump thing, he's going to leak into the Muslims, the whole Muslim situation, by pointing out their hypocrisy and stuff like that, and noting that, you know what, it's either we live in a Muslim country or we live in an American country. We need to get it right. Alright, so the last thing I'm going to finish on this, there is a divide taking place. Alright, and it is specifically with everybody on one side and people who hate Donald Trump's guts on the other side. Alright, that's where the divide is taking place. And, you know, guys, it's very important to note that there's people out there who don't hate Donald Trump's guts, who are critics of Donald Trump, and they're making absolutely great points. Absolutely great points, and I love to listen to them because I want to get all sort of angles. Meanwhile, if you go down this damn Russia involvement, Putin is Donald Trump's puppet master, and you go down this whole slippery slope of stupid little weird stuff that CNN keeps reporting out, alright? If you go down that rabbit hole, you're going to find yourself talking gibberish all day. And like I said, there's people out there who are definitely criticizing the administration, the Trump administration, and they're making amazingly good points. One I want to point out before we get out of here is Gavin Siam. Gavin Siam, man, you know what I'm saying? He's been representing for a while, and understand he's completely on that liberty tip. He's been doing that liberty thing since well before this here election. He's been doing it for years. Alright, Gavin Siam, he has complaints against the Donald Trump administration. Very valid complaints. He was talking this morning, or maybe it was late last night. He was talking about a situation that some of us will never forget. It's still on our minds. The whole Bundy situation. A lot of us already have forgotten. A lot of us never knew about it. The Bundy situation, these people are still in jail. It's like a year and a half later. It's over a year and a half later. These people are still in jail. Lots of times they're in solitary confinement, all sorts of stuff. We heard all sorts of stuff about these Bundys. Meanwhile, the Bundy should have the most public of trials that you could ever think of, and we should get that underway right now, right? Because it was a national issue. It was a very big issue, right? It doesn't make sense that they wouldn't be given a speedy trial, but guess what? They're not being given a speedy trial, not in the least. All right, Gavin Siam went ahead and he called out Donald Trump because he knows that Donald Trump knows about this situation. He knows that Jeff Sessions knows about this situation. Meanwhile, ain't nothing being done about it. It's a year and a half later and we're still waiting on this justice. Guess what? This justice, it moves a little bit too slow, to be honest with you. Right? And that's a sincere complaint against Donald Trump and his whole administration. And yet still, you're still going to have people talking about this and that with all sort of distracting type. I mean, Donald Trump's Twitter, that's an issue for some of y'all out there. You know what I mean? Some people are being taken away by their hate. They're letting their hate lead them. They're letting their hate lead their lives down a dark, dark path. All right, and they're becoming divided from everybody else. There's definitely complaints that you would have against Donald Trump and presidency, for sure. Thing is, at the same time, what we all have to admit to ourselves is, if any one of us got up into presidency of the United States of America, all right, there's no way we would make everybody happy. It just wouldn't happen. All right, we have to recognize that, and so if we didn't make everybody happy, then obviously some people are going to be pissed off at us. All right, so Donald Trump, obviously he's not Jesus, never claimed to be Jesus, and he's not going to make everybody happy. In fact, Jesus didn't make everybody happy when you think about it. All right, and so you do have to give him that. You do have to recognize that, yeah, there's serious complaints, and if we want to fix stuff, we got to think about the complaints sincerely, and we got to stop freaking out about Donald Trump as though he's one man. You got to understand, even in the Obama days, I mean, I didn't like Obama since the very beginning. I didn't like Obama just because I didn't ever see him deliver nothing. Oh yeah, he promised a lot of stuff. Oh, he sure did. Delivered nothing that I could remember. All right, so that's why I didn't like him. Right. Meanwhile, I wasn't running around talking about, oh, Obama, he's gonna bring down the world. He's gonna make the glaciers melt and stuff. Like, we're all in peril. We're all in just pending danger, and because of Barack Obama and stuff, he's ruining everything. No, I never said nothing like that. You can go back to videos, and if I said anything about Barack Obama, I was usually mentioning his damn puppet masters, dude. And I understand that he always had them. Alright, it's not one person. I don't care if it's the president of the United States. There isn't one person in America who could bring down America. Alright, Donald Trump, to be included, he can't bring down America. Alright, it's not possible for one person to do it. A lot of people are freaking out, thinking like he's being controlled by Russia. He's got a finger on the button and he wants to get into war with Russia. It's like none of that makes sense, though. Alright, people are becoming very divided, very confused in these times of tribulation. And it's not a good look. Anyways, it's July the 15th, y'all, 2017, and I'll holler at y'all.